episode for you today.
But we're back. We're back with another. It's a big one today. It's huge. I feel a bit nervous.
I'm not nervous because I feel like no matter what happens at the end of this episode, we still won't be any closer to knowing what we're doing.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good point. I mean, or we'll say that we do, and we'll be like, yeah, and then we'll turn the video off, and then we'll be like, actually, should we rethink that?
Yeah.
You know. But it's a good one. It's going to be a big one. We've been talking about, we've been doing like agony aunt sessions, trying to give people little bits of advice where we can. And we've also been doing that in our personal lives, haven't we? I feel as if there's been a couple of people that have been outreaching to us and asking us
Definitely,
how would you start
really
this?
Nice.
It's been really lovely. I've been really enjoying that. And
there's no like greater compliment really if someone asks you for advice. And I think if someone says, oh look, I've got this thing, like what do you think? Or like, can you help me with this thing? It's like, okay, on one hand it's like everyone just wants, in a way, sometimes it can feel like everyone just wants like a quick answer to something.
Yeah.
Or they want an easy fix for something.
Yeah.
When in reality, really, like anything worthwhile has never got like a black and white answer.
No, and it's never easy.
It's never easy.
It's never an easy decision.
And it's almost like no matter what you do, if you've got a decision where there's 2 paths or 3 paths or 4 paths or something.
Or 5.
6. Surely not 7.
8.
Reconsider narrowing it down a little bit if you've got 7 paths to take. But I honestly think the only way that you will make the wrong decision is not making a decision. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you've got all these paths ahead of you, and you
good.
think, well, going that way does that, and that could be that, and that could be that, and going that way could be this, and it might be this, and it, a lot of like hanging opportunities and possibilities and stuff. The only way you could mess up in a sense is kind of by being like, well, I'm not going to do any of them because
you'll sink.
Because you'll just sink, you need to jump to the next lily pad.
I agree. I think any decision, even if you think it's the wrong decision, in retrospect, I think any movement is good. It's better than the alternative of not moving, isn't it?
And most of the
scary,
time, it's scary because you've got to jump, but then jump to the one that feels like, I'm going to give this a go. Maybe there's risk involved, but anything worthwhile in life, there's going to be risk involved.
Yeah.
Jump to it and then be like, okay, let's put a time on this and think, let's see how this goes for this amount of time or this amount of energy and effort. And then let's see how it feels. And then it's one of them. If you're lucky in life, there's always another lily. There's always another path. There's always
I feel like there usually
always
is.
Sidestep or back step or even jumping forward and then jumping to the side or jumping to the side then forward. It's still like so much better than letting the paralysis of like indecision stop you from doing any of them.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more.
And we'll see you next week.
That's like that's like that.
It's like the fig tree?
Virginia Woolf, is that from the bell jar? Sylvia Plath. Yeah, that's
where
it.
She's got all these things.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's just like you feel it no matter what you do. It doesn't feel like the right decision because usually no decision that's important is black and white and has an obvious answer.
Yeah.
The things that are worthwhile and things that make up important things in your life are things where there's ups and downs, there's pros and cons, there's questions that you don't know the answer to until you do it.
You know what I find interesting about quotes and metaphors, that they're so like, what's the word? That they're usually very beautifully composed, which is great. But they lend themselves to whatever. So like that fig tree example, right? So you could say like, oh well, that whole metaphor is like she sees all the fruit growing and she could have picked one, but she didn't. She just stood and watched them become ripe, and then she let it go, and then they turned rotten, and then they fell to the ground, and she didn't do anything. And that's a metaphor for life.
Yeah.
she had all these opportunities, but she never picked one. But then but then there's an opposite to that, isn't there? So that sort of plays into the, you got to pick something, you got to go for something. But then there'd be other people that would say, oh, well, I went out and tried to pick all of them. I tried to have a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And then someone could turn around and say, oh, well, because you tried to pick so many, none of them were ripe, so you never had anything. You never really had a fulfilling fig.
There'll be again. You're so right.
Do you know what I mean?
Whatever you want. It's almost like whatever you think, you will find evidence to support that. Whether that's a quote or signs from the universe or things like that. It
works the other way as well.
It does work the other way. It's just like the whole there's like quotes like the grass is greener where you water it. And I think about that one a lot. I think that, the whole grass is always greener quote where everyone always thinks that someone else is better off or somewhere else is better off, but because the grass is greener there. But then the grass is greener where you water it is like the grass is it's about your perspective as opposed to, and your effort and energy. If you put it into where you're at, that's where the grass will be greener, and it's like shifting your perspective. And I like a lot of that, but then I also don't like the flip side of it where it's like, and the same goes for the bloom where you planted and things like that, and all that. Like, I like so much of that, but then also I don't like the flip side of it that's kind of like, well, what if the grass is greener over there and I don't ever go and see what it's like?
Yeah.
And I water my own grass and that's great.
Maybe I wasn't born with any water, or maybe the water cost £1,000, and maybe I do water it, but it's so hot here.
Maybe there's only so much watering I can do here.
Yeah.
Before actually there's elements that are out of my reach that I do think the grass is greener over there, and I need to go, at least needing to have that self-belief or that risk and that sense of spirit and life to go and just see. And then be like, okay, my perspective here is I'm still going to look at this however I want. It's like if your perspective is that there is better and where you are is not as good, and then you get there and it's you were right. It's like, oh, this is actually so much better. I'm feeling it. It's great.
Yeah.
Then that's great. But it's when people are like, oh, like, like someone's always got this or that, so don't bother to think about it. I don't know.
Well, I think that's also a bit of a placebo, of like a mental placebo. Like the idea of you being like, well, what was that one? Bloom
where you planted.
Bloom where you planted. That has the potential to be really damaging and be like, okay, so that to me sounds like it's like, well, be happy with what you have here, and that's great on one hand, because it's like, you should, if you wake up and you're healthy and all those things that you should be grateful for, great. But then it's like, well, what if I want to go, what if I want to bloom somewhere else,
what if I want to see what things are like, and it's such a tough one.
There's a lot of metaphors out there and phrases which I think are like, okay, like that's good, I like that.
Just
but
quotes, and it's like you could kind of use any of them to support what you think.
Yeah.
And for every quote that'll tell you to do one thing, there'll be another quote that tells you to do the opposite.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
and the idea of like reading between the lines, like I feel like sometimes they lull you into that trick of thinking that it's black and white, like the fig tree thing. It's like, okay, well, I need to pick something quick, because if I don't pick something, like if that was me, I'd be thinking like, well, God, I've got to make a decision. What do I want to be in life? Because my opportunities are dwindling, and I need to make a move. I need
to pick one.
And it's like, no, the reality is that
they'll be growing again next year, and
pick multiple things, and have a go at a bunch of stuff, But the metaphor doesn't lend itself to that.
Exactly,
it doesn't. The metaphor wasn't, I saw all these figs and I thought, hey, next year there'll be figs again, and I can pick that fig if I want, or maybe I'll go back and get this fig, and it's a beautiful metaphor. I love it. I think it's great.
Good.
But,
it is good. It's just it's the same with any quotes and metaphors, isn't it? It's like, well, it just depends on your perspective.
Yeah.
Brief interlude about Bean.
A minute from Bean. But we actually have real
this is
coffees
legit
this
coffee
time.
Today.
Yeah. You've gone for an iced one.
I got an iced Americano today.
We're in September, but it's sunny out and hot, which is nice. It was,
and I feel like it is quite mild out still, which is nice. And I'm trying to enjoy the iced coffee while I can, really, because soon it'll be too cold.
Yeah.
But
you got an iced Americano. I got a hot one. Always hot for me.
You always get hot, don't you?
Yeah. But you can, as some of our returning listeners will know, there'll be a link in the description, which is Bean's loyalty app. You can download it for free. You can get some points, rack some points up if you go in and get some coffee. Do that enough times and you'll get some free coffee. I think it's something like 30 points gets you a free.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got multiple venues around the city. It's Liverpool's like first independent coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
We're frequent visitors there every day.
Every day.
Liverpool 1. We love the team. You get great service. It's reliable. It's lovely coffee. It's lovely vibe.
They've also started doing ice cream as well. They're partnering with another local independent, aren't they?
Well, I think they supply the coffee for the espresso ice cream at Gelato on Lark Lane.
Yeah.
So they're doing it here now. So they're giving them the ice cream, I assume.
Nice.
So yeah, you can get it in coffee, like espresso flavoured pistachio or vanilla. We're yet to try any of them, but we need to.
Yeah, but it's not.
We need to do a taster.
We definitely do, but it's nice that it's always great to see local places communicating with each other and supporting each other.
Definitely, yeah, for sure.
Being good at that, and Gelato, I've never been in or tasted their stuff, but
we need to do that as well before it gets cold.
It looks great
it does
though.
Look good.
So yeah, check out that link in the description.
Cheers. So yeah, today we thought we've got a little bit of a thing at the minute that we're sort of it's a bit of a fig situation for us where we're thinking about change and what opportunities do we have at our disposal right now in order to grow and to have new experiences and things like that. And it's been ongoing now for like a month or a couple of months or something, I'd say, that we've been like going back and forth about about this idea and about what we think about what we think our maybe next chapter's going to be, or our next like step, or what's something that we think we're trying to like look ahead a little bit more, because I think for the past like 4 or 5 years or so now, we've both been very focused on growing ourselves, growing our business, growing our like separate businesses to be like self-employed, and we've had so much, like we've done so much to do that, and when you do that you kind of tunnel vision a little bit, and then we've also been spending the past 1.5 years, 2 years now, like working on ourselves, like getting a bit like physically better, mentally, like our well-being and stuff. That's been all the range around here in this household, and you kind of, even though all those things are great and it's stuff like that, but then it's like you're constantly juggling these things, and then maybe like you kind of drop the ball in somewhere in your life a little bit and think, okay, maybe we need to have a think about this, because where is it? Where are we going? What are we doing?
Do you think we've dropped the ball?
I don't think we've dropped the ball, because I think, no, I wouldn't quite say it like that. Maybe a more thing of, we've been juggling so much, and so all of them are really good things, and maybe something that we're juggling that's maybe weighing us down,
right,
and is something that maybe is stopping the other balls from spinning properly.
I think at this point it's probably really important that we actually disclose what it is that we're talking about.
Go for it.
I'll try and set it up in the best way possible. We went to visit Meg's parents a couple of must have been a month ago now, and we stayed the night, and then we were coming back to Liverpool, and we were in the car, and we were like, we on the drive back we were figuring out how much it costs to live in the flat that we're in now, and what we pay in rent and council tax and all these fees, all the fees that people will know about, obviously.
The
bills, yeah. And we were like, wow, like it's, when we added everything up, it was a big figure, it was like north of £1,500 a month.
Yeah.
And obviously being self-employed, that kind of money is it's for people like us, it's a constant hum of where's the money coming from, and how are we going to make opportunities, and there's no
guarantee.
There's no guarantee, so we have to be on it all the time.
Or stability in terms of it's the same every week or month. It's very up and down.
I've had gigs which just as quick they come in and it's like, great, there's a gig. Regular gigs are out. It's like we're not doing them anymore, so it's over. So you're gonna have to find something else. And obviously with markets, they're hit and miss.
Markets and pop-ups. One month can be absolute belter, and you just think, oh, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
You do the exact same thing a week later, a month later, and it is the total opposite, and you just think, how is this it's so unpredictable and unstable.
With that said, I sort of I feel like I've been doing it for so long now, and I feel like you're there as well, that I feel like we both kind of thrive in those environments where you're up against the wall and it's like you need to get a gig, you need to get something, you need to bring something in. I feel like you and I are particularly good at channeling that and being like, right, let's get going and figure something out.
It's always a good challenge in a sense as well, because if someone was, say, working a regular job and their money's coming in every month, and then they're like, oh, well, I'm not really affording anything. I don't really know what I can do apart from ask for more hours or get another job as well.
Right.
Whereas for you and me, it's kind of like we've kind of got that ability, and we have that like luxury of being like, right, what can I do here to create this for myself, rather than waiting for someone else to hand it to me or to
and there's no ceiling, so that's also another good thing, because it works both ways. So it's like, on the one hand, it's like there's no stability, and things can be, you can be at zero, but you can be like that in a 9 to 5 as well if that gets pulled out from underneath you.
So true.
But then if we're willing to do the work, we who knows what the amount that you can earn each week is. So it can be crazy, but so we were driving back and we were like, okay, so like that's the cost of what it is to live here. Your parents' place is like a 30-minute drive from Liverpool. My mum's place is like 25 minutes away from where.
I'd say maybe Runcorn's maybe 40 and yours is probably 20.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
I'd say.
And we were like, oh yeah, it would be mad, wouldn't it? And we just sort of said it in a tongue-in-cheek way. And there's, we were like, oh, it would be mad if we just ended all of this stuff here, living here, and just moved back home for a year. And we just, we paid some rent, obviously, but we didn't pay anything near the amount that we're paying now.
Yeah.
And we saved for a year, because we know what we made like together, like last year. Like we made like a fair amount together. But then with the cost of our expenses and bills, and
it's a huge chunk. I think they say that anything over 50% of what your income is, if anything over 50% is going on your expenses, like rent and bills, and then kind of food as well, because you need food to live. Like obviously that can be very variable depending on how much you're spending on your shops and stuff like that, but if all of that comes to more than 50% of what you're bringing in, you're only on a downward thing, you know what I mean? Your ability to save or to then have money for like fun things like travel, which is something we've talked about on the poddy before as well, that we feel like there's so many sacrifices that come with not having the regular like stability of like income from a job, and then being able to have like paid holidays and stuff like that. Like,
and there's that's another thing. It's like you and I, it's like we've let's take last year, so what we made together, you and I would have worked flat out for that year. We didn't do any, we did little 2-3 day breaks,
couple days here and there,
all places that are within an hour, 2-3 hour drive, not abroad. So we didn't do any big holidays. We didn't do any. We don't really go out. We don't drink.
No.
We don't go out on the weekends. We don't party or anything. Not really.
No.
So, in terms of where our expenses would have gone, it's like, well, it was on work stuff and living here.
Yeah.
And there would have been anything that I can think of that I would have bought would probably have been to a business expense.
Not just like a personal.
I can't think of anything that I've bought or that I've invested in that was just for me or for us, or
No.
So it's like, okay, so there's a lot of money going on living here.
Yeah.
And then we were like, okay, so what does that mean? And then we sort of, you open that door, and it's like, well, with where we're at now and how much we're able to save each year, also as well, like we both have student loans, and we don't have sort of we don't have credit cards. We don't take anything out.
We
on
don't have
hire
any
purchase.
debt in that way. No.
There's no debt. The only debt we have is
student
student
loans.
So, our credit scores aren't going to be very good because I mean I've got my tax statements and stuff that I've been doing for a few years, but that's not the same as showing repayment. As like when you take
apart
something
from like
out
a phone bill, that's about it. But
that's
I think everyone's got that, and everyone's got student loans as well.
So it's like, okay, so what does this look like for us with the money that we're spending here? How much money we're able to save each month, which is not a lot, and what is it that where we want to be in like 10 years, knowing as well that it's probably going to be very unlikely we can afford a mortgage if that's a route we want to go down. What does that look like for us?
It's like, and it's funny, isn't it? Because I think that if I like cast my mind back to like 10 years, which is our like span of like being together from college and then uni.
11 in December.
College, and then sort of I was working for a year after college, you were back at college, then we both went and did uni together for the 3 years, and then you were kind of straight from uni, sort of building your music career, doing gigs and busking. I was kind of working just any job, just kind of like waitressing, sales assistant, all of that. I was just bouncing from job to job to job to job.
In an inspiring way, though, for someone that's like...
I'm not being down on it. That was just where I was at. I was just making the money to just afford rent here, and bills and stuff. Not really thinking any further ahead than maybe a few months ahead or something like that. And then, sort of, it's like 2020, it's COVID, it's lockdown, everything stands still. You're like... the thing that you've been building for years has kind of gone to a halt because there's no gigs, there's no bus, there's none of this, like no one's out. And then that's when I sort of start my business and start doing that for online and stuff like that. And then it's kind of been like 4 years since then. That's what we've both kind of been doing. You've been building your business, I've been doing that for me. And we've both like been working on ourselves and stuff. So it's that thing of like, okay, we've come to this bit now where it's kind of like we kind of know we love working for ourselves. We love spending time together and having the opportunity to have most of our time together. We love like growing, challenging ourselves. Like
we're very creative people. That's something that's important.
Yeah,
we're not There's no like I'd rather do something creative and make very little and struggle than have a very secure job.
Yeah,
that
me too.
Requires more time.
Even without the creativity, I'd rather do it for me and be it something that I'm growing for myself, and I'm building something from nothing that is unstable, that makes me, not a whole lot of money in terms of what people are on yearly salaries and stuff. Then have something where I'm not passionate about it. I'm just there for the paycheck, and that's life. I'd much rather do the other, and I think we know that in ourselves, and we know we love, like, just like keeping fit, doing the stuff, being healthy, like, So it's like we're at that thing now. It's like, okay, what's something that we like maybe want to do and we want to like grow, and then what's holding us back? Do you know what I mean? Like we're quite good at narrowing those things down, at what things maybe we need to let go of, and things that are restricting us, because we don't like things restricting us.
Well, do you think it's more a thing of like what it looks like is like you have your business life, which is going well. You're constantly being fulfilled. You're constantly fulfilling that because you're making things with your business, like you're growing it, you're changing it, you're refining it, You're thinking of more ways that you can grow it, which is great.
Yeah.
You're also making money from it, which is awesome.
Incredible.
Then you have like, call it a side hustle, or a side project, which is the podcast, which is also something that, your business comes first, but the podcast is also important, and it's something that you're investing time in.
Absolutely.
That's
something
great.
You believe in as well.
Yeah, 100%. That's great. In terms of like social and play life, it's sort of like, okay, like that, that could probably be a bit more, I'm probably talking for the both of us here as well, like, the social and play stuff, it's like, that could do with a bit more attention, but it's still existent. It's not like it's not a thing.
No, yeah, and probably the reason that is something that gets on the back burner a bit is because we're so busy hustling and doing the stuff that there's not really a lot of room or time for the slowing down, putting emphasis on social stuff, putting emphasis on play,
travel,
adventure,
and fun,
travel.
and like you can, because it's like, okay, you have to find this kind of this money each week,
which is a con, I guess, like
a little bit,
but it's
because then the last thing is sort of like, okay, like in terms of finances and building something for a future, like, so for the next 10 years, it's like, okay, well,
what does that look sustainable?
What does that look like for us? Because it's like, if we keep doing what we're doing now and keep moving at the same progress that we're doing now, I'm sure that in 10 years we might be able to scrimp together enough money
for a deposit,
on a place that's sort of
smaller.
Or a place that we kind of like, but it's almost like, well, beggars can't be choosers, get on the property ladder. There's also a thing there where it's like, I don't think you and I have that thing where we want to get on the property ladder so we can get a mortgage, so we can get the family home, so that we can start a family, so that we can get set up here. I don't think that's necessarily what's in our, it's not in our story at the minute.
I don't think so. I don't think that's what either of us see for ourselves in terms of like a traditional route of like,
not right now,
because we don't really have traditional jobs, and we don't really have, I mean, at the age we're both, I'm 28 on Sunday, woo, you're 28 now, if you'd have turned the clock back 50 years, people have the house, the kids, the job at the age we're at now. I know that it's changing a lot, our generation now having kids a lot later and settling down a lot later, and because of the housing crisis and the property, everything's a mess, in in the nicest way possible, and that's so much that is out of our control. And but I don't think either of us see us like getting a house somewhere local and sort of starting a family like so soon, and then kind of, I don't know, it's
not quite something that I think I just don't,
it doesn't get as excited, does it?
No, I think for us it's like that again, because it seems a bit it seems traditional, and it seems like it seems conventional, and it's not a thing of like, well, we don't want to ever have a property or we ever want to have children. No. It's just that I think for you and I, it's like we want to make sure that we're totally like happy and enjoying our lives before it's like we start thinking about bringing other lives in.
Totally.
So then we were like, okay, so what would that look like? And we thought, maybe what would be more plausible, instead of us being like, well, we're gonna have to keep doing what we're doing for the next 5-6 years so we can afford a deposit, and also start getting on this thing of being like, okay, well, maybe start buying things on drip so you can show that you've paid stuff back and that kind of thing. If we were to, we found, there's properties around Liverpool that you can buy for like 60, 70, 80 grand, and so we had this idea of maybe being like, well, if we moved back home for say a year, and this is the whole dilemma of,
this is the fig tree,
taking a step back, a tactical step back, so you can bounce forward, sort of thing. If we did that for a year, with knowing of what our incomes would be when we're doing good and we've got jobs on the go and things are happening, we within a year, maybe just over a year, with factoring in taxes and things like that, within a year we might,
in case taxman's listening, and they're always listening.
Well, I hope they are, because I'm playing by the book. We're playing ball, honey. within a year to a year and a half, we might be able of solid work. We might be able to buy a place outright.
Yeah, and then have a little reno project there to build something up. And
Renovation.
Then,
not the car.
No, not a Renault Megane.
Renault Megane.
But yeah, and then we'd have that then as an investment that there could be a place there for us if we ever wanted it. But then we want to have that as our investment then, that's then hopefully going to afford us monthly, like a monthly income that's on top of what we currently make, that can then hopefully afford us to travel, you know, go
explore
abroad,
some other places,
explore
living in some other places.
We'd like get a lot out of being somewhere with like maybe a better climate, maybe a better sports.
She's doing a bit. She's telling you where she wants to be, but not saying it.
Somewhere where there's just a beach, and somewhere we've been before that we didn't enjoy. No, we did enjoy it. We did like it.
Say hello to my little friend.
Mike and I went to Los Angeles when we were like 22, was it 23 or something?
Yeah, worst trip I've ever been on.
It was a pretty crazy trip. We didn't have a clue what we were doing there.
Totally my fault. Totally my
your fault.
Silly.
That's the wrong word. It was your idea.
I had this silly thing of young.
It wasn't silly.
It was silly, but it was life changing in a good way.
Yeah.
It was me being very young and saying, okay, I really just want to. For some reason, I just want to go out to LA and see what it's all about. I want to, see what this whole thing is with Hollywood and Los Angeles.
We booked our flight, and
we
went there, and it was
a huge shock.
Craziest culture shock, craziest experience. Bearing in mind the furthest we've ever been together on a trip was Paris together as well.
Yeah, and now we're flying 9 hours to Los Angeles to with no real plan, no real
whatsoever.
Directive of what we're doing.
Also, no money. I'm pretty sure by the time we were on our flight back home, I had nothing in my bank.
I had nothing in my account either because the hotel had taken.
We had to use all of our money to get home.
So silly.
It was pretty
silly.
It was pretty crazy.
It was pretty reckless.
But it was pretty fun.
But the whole time I was there, I was panicked. I was adrenalized.
Oh yeah, we had major panic attacks every day.
I
was convinced that Mike was going to get shot there.
I was convinced I was going to get shot there.
I was going to be bringing your body back in a coffin, like with a Union Jack on, like a flag, something like that.
Bringing me back in a body bag, but without my ball bag attached.
He's got bigger balls. Don't know what is it.
But he couldn't find his own balls in his own ball bag.
So yeah, we went, and it was pretty wild. But, it's something that we've spoken about now for the past couple of years.
Because you know what it did? It planted a seed.
It planted a seed.
Being there was so scary and wild, but there was a seed that was planted, I think, that's slowly grown and been nurtured.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, Los Angeles might not be the answer.
It's not about
it's
that
not
being
about
the
that
place, the be all and end all.
But it was a thing of being like looking around and being like that us, especially from being from small towns and small places, and you get into a routine. It's like someone rips the veil off and says, look at what's out there. Look at what's out there, and this is just one of those places that you've been to, which the climate was very nice. The vibe in places was very nice. Like,
it was.
The attitude, the sort of, it was so different from being in a pub in our hometown.
Yeah.
And being like, well, I know what this looks like.
Yeah. And
here,
the focus on like outdoor, like not only like leisure, but just being outdoors, doing sports. Do you remember when we saw all the people like playing volleyball
on the beach? Yeah, just being like, oh, that
that's a casual
that's nice.
night. Yeah,
that's nice.
Like how cool. And we've had the coldest summer on record here in the UK as well. That I read this morning.
And it's there's all that stuff, isn't there?
It's it's stuff like that, and
And there's a dark side to Los Angeles in California, in America,
like wherever you go.
Of course there is, and
absolutely.
it's not
nowhere's
like
paradise.
Nowhere's paradise, and we don't. I don't think that any of us are delusioned by that. It's like there's a real sense of it. Los Angeles can be dangerous. It costs a bomb, and but again, I feel like there's whenever you and I have had those things where it's like, you're not going to be able to do that. Like, start living in the real world.
Yeah.
Like, you know, get real. I remember.
It's a pipe dream, and also everyone would go there if it was that easy and simple. Oh yeah, that'd be lovely.
You think you can be a musician? Do you know how hard that, you know, it's going to be so rare, you know? Or don't really think about that. It's like comedy. It's like you're going to try going from one, you know, job to another. It's not going to work. I feel like anytime that happens, I just get this huge fire that's just like, I'm just gonna do it now just because you've said, just because I've had one, you know, like just some stranger in the street that's shown me one like instance of, oh well, that's, you know, someone might just say, oh well, you know, that's quite a challenge. I'm just like, oh, you've done it now. Oh, even if they say it in a nice positive way,
it's just like,
you've done it now, mate. Like, I'm gonna, you know,
the Kill Bill, that I know what you mean. I think I totally agree with that. I don't think I have the thing where it's about someone else saying that I can't do something.
No, same really.
No, I know you don't really have that. You're not someone that's like, you need to prove something to anyone or you need to show anyone. But I definitely have it in myself where if I start to think that something is too out of reach and is too big, too like silly, too not in the real world, my brain can easily like listen to those voices and think, don't, because you'll be disappointed if you don't get that, and then you'll lose sight of all the lovely things that you have now, and you should be content, you should be grateful, you know, don't like reach too far and stuff, like know where you need to be pointing your energy towards that's likely to happen. And then it's like a weird thing happens where then I have this out of body thing where it's like, no way, like I can't speak to myself like that. I can't put things on this like pedestal or put these limitations on myself where I just think
100%.
No, I can't do that. It's like anything, like if I wanted to become a lawyer, like someone might go, oh no, that's not on the cards for me because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the reasons. And it's like, but no one's told you that. Like, you're putting those things on yourself that you can't
100%.
go and do it. Yeah, it'd be a challenge and it'd be a huge sidestep, and it'd be, you've got no mates that are doing that. You've got no family that are doing that. Like, no one's coming, Harry. But also, like, you've got to just go for it and try it, because the absolute worst case scenario is that it doesn't quite work out and you do something else. I
just don't see that as a thing though. It's like, I feel like it's like if you want it enough, but you also, you're doing it for the right reasons. So the idea of like, oh, like do you want to be an actor? Why do you want to be an actor? So, oh, you know, because like I've seen people on TV do it, and I want to, you know, I kind of want the limelight and I want to be rich. It's like, well, you're setting yourself up for, you know, if you're happy with doing a community stage show and not getting paid for it in your hometown theatre and you love it, then that's you know, you're doing it for the right reason. But yeah, I think that if you're doing it for the right reasons and usually that reason being just because you just really enjoy doing it, you've sort of won just by doing the thing. Do you know what I mean? Like the money and stuff is, and I'm sure any successful person would say that. They'd say the money, we didn't do it to drive for the money. You did it because you wanted to make something and do it. And then it,
most of the time, you know, people say like, oh, like you want the money. And it's like, okay, what do you want the money for? And then when people stop to think about that, they don't actually know what they want all the money for.
Or the acclaim. Like what's the, you know, like what if you want to claim, then you must, there's something missing, you know, other people can't give you that.
Yeah, it needs to be like from the heart, the gut, this sense of fulfillment and pushing yourself for something further that you think might be out of reach and pushing towards it. Because go in for something because you think it's about what other people think or what it shows about you or your status or your money or your, you know, your title or things like that. It's just kind of shallow, and you know, if everybody in the world disappeared, you probably wouldn't be happy with what you've got there. Yeah, definitely, you know,
definitely, like, 100%.
So that's the gist of our dilemma, and I guess it's not a dilemma. It's something that
I think it's a dilemma. I think it's big. I think because it's not that. It's like, okay, that plan seems like, to me, it seems like, well, that seems like you've got some direction now in terms of your 10-year plan.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing to have. Like, and it's, you know, it's like it's better than having no plan, and any indication of something is good.
Yeah.
But then I feel like the thing that we keep coming back to is like, if it's the idea of giving up this, which is like the only thing we're really giving up is.
It's been our home for the past like 7 years though.
And it's
been our routine.
It's routine. It's everything that comes with it as well. It's freedom. It's like it's independence.
Yeah.
It's having just all those, you know, like listen. You know, that like, you know, like there's no one to sort of there's no other people that you have to accommodate for.
Yeah.
But so now it's like, okay, well, do we move back? And if so, do we move back to your place or my
folks
place
in Runcorn or Mike's folks in Widnes? And that's something that we're going back and forth between. I think at one point it was obvious and now it's not so obvious, but I don't know, I do think it's obvious that inevitably we're gonna move. I think that's the inevitable, because for me it just keeps coming back to this thing of like, we don't really have a sustainable future here. And even though we've built so much greatness here, that greatness like can't go any further until we change something. Like, and all the things we've done and built here, they're still here in us. Our base might change, but nothing else will change in a way. But we'll be going forward somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's so many positives, and also we're so lucky to both have a home that would have us back at. That's a huge thing to like be 100%. Grateful for, instead of it being like, oh, I've got to, you know, not that we're like that, but people out there would be like, oh, I've got to move back home, or, and it's like, well, you know, some people don't have that. Some people don't have that as an option to go back 100%. Home.
And if you do, it's like that's something that's a place of privilege. In the exact same way, if there was someone there like that, you had a parent or someone that was like, yeah, like, you know, we can help you out with a deposit for a place, we'll get you on. It's like it's the same thing really.
It's the same privilege.
It's the same principle, isn't it? So and I feel, and again, the pragmatic part of my mind is like, let's do it, because if we do it and we do it consistently, I know that by the end of that year, you know, we'd have to sit and sort of figure out the actual finance side of it, which would be fine. It's like, I know that we could finish that year and be like, okay, so now we can probably buy a property here, and we have some options and we can figure this out.
Yeah.
But it is just that, it's the dive. It's like, the jump and being like, like you've got to, you know, are you going to have that conviction to be like, yeah, I'm really, and this is so funny, isn't it? Because we talk about this stuff all the time on the podcast, all the time. And then we're in the situation as it's happening, and it's like, well, you kind of, from how we've just been talking, we sort of know what it is that we need to do.
Yeah.
And it's right there. We could do it now. We could call the landlord now and say, hey,
that's what I mean. Fun. Like all of it's so tough because we have this thing, and it's kind of like we kind of know what we're gonna do without having the absolute logistics figured out yet. But then actually making those calls and getting that ball like rolling is very scary, and it's very hard. It feels like potentially the scariest like decision thing we've had to really deal with since we've been together, I'd say.
Well, I think that, you know, like when you break it down, it's like there's been lots of scary things at the time that have happened.
Yeah.
I was, you know, embarking on like when we first met, it was like there was a potential that I was going to go to a different uni than you.
Yeah.
That was scary. And you know, are we going to move to Liverpool, and are we going to study, and what, you quitting your job and me going sort of solo and for my job and stuff. And I guess now it's like, maybe, you know, it's the biggest thing perhaps since COVID. This is our big decision since COVID.
Maybe. Yeah, I know what you mean. So let us know in the comments if you think we should move to Widnes or Runcorn.
Yeah, because I feel as if and again,
we need to get the whiteboard out and do a big pros and cons list of each of them, really, and sit down and do a full finance check of what we'd need to be making.
Sounds
what
fun.
What our expenses are going to be. What, you know, what's this, what's that.
Well, you know, you're going to be like 1,500 up at least a month, which is pretty good
That's
money.
Another thing. It's a little bit stifling when you work for yourself and you see the money come in and you think, I've made that money, I have literally created that employment for myself. My hard graft has gone into that. I'm doing about 10 different job descriptions right now to get this money to come in. And then you see it and you've made it and it's amazing and it's incredible. And then to see it all fly away, like, not on nothing, because it's going towards your lifestyle and, like, you know, all the perks that come with living here and stuff. But
it's short term, isn't it?
So
it's a short term,
and it's
thing.
not, that money's not coming back in any way.
It's not being invested.
It's not invested.
It's just
in
being
anything.
It's like we're working for it and then it's going away.
Yeah.
And a lot, you know, that's the thing for a lot of people, you know.
That's
but
life, isn't it? But
it could not be.
It could not be if we did this thing where we think, we're gonna put a plan together and spend a year working, doing some traveling as well, since our expenses are going to be so low.
Yeah, we could
doing some low cost traveling, low risk traveling. You know, we're on this like trusted house sort of thing where you can just go and like look after people's dogs and stay, free accommodation and stuff that we want to try.
I also think there would be a real sense of, like, we've talked about this before as well, but like, because there's an element of comfort and tranquility here, moving back would be it'd be a bit of an injection of chaos. Yeah. Because it's like, this is different, what's going on.
And challenge.
But I think through doing that, there would be like okay, so we're here now, it's happened, we're back in these places that we associate with, you know, it's like with childhood, it's a few years, it feels like some sort of, you've gone backwards now.
Yeah, you've regressed.
But you have 365 days at your disposal to get off your arse and really try and not like get out of here, but like you've put yourself in a box.
Oh, we need to but
how are you gonna whereas here it's like, okay, like
there's kind of an element of like we're just sort of bobbing and
it's like, oh, there's like we've got time and you know this is nice, and but this would be like no like you've got to figure it out, which would be kind of, again, that's where you and I do
challenge,
well,
and we do thrive, and I think it would like improve our lives in so many ways as well, because it would force us. I think it would force us to be like, right, we need to seriously structure our days now, where we're getting up at this time. There's no debate. There's no like, we're going here and then we're going to Liverpool. We're getting this done. And then,
oh
my God. A little bit more of like a kick at the arse sort of thing. Like, not that I think we need it, because I know we both work so hard. I know we both do so much, but
no, but it's like it's like, okay, look, you preach this kind of stuff, and you want to you have a vague idea of where you want to be and what you want to do in life, where you want to be in the next 10 years. It's like, maybe, okay, so if in the next 10 years you want to be potentially having a base in somewhere in California, potentially, because, and we're not saying that this is what it is that's going to happen, but it's a vague direction that we know. We're
going to go out there again and have a bit of more time there now that we're a bit more mature as well.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, if you have a vague idea of that, and it's like there are things that you could be doing to further that, and also inadvertently at the end of the year, if you just buy a property in Liverpool and you change your mind, it's like, well, do you want to just live here then?
Yeah.
Then you've made an investment. And it's like, okay, so that's something to also consider.
Yeah.
Then
it's using what's at our disposal as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, that's just the only, just figuring out.
It is tough.
Figuring out where it's going to take place.
Yeah. And then when do we make
when do we do it?
And
September feels like back to school.
Yeah.
So it feels as if that's almost like your year starts and ends in September.
I know what you mean.
Know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, but I don't know. It feels like something that, not that you can't rush into it, and it's not something you've got to rip the band-aid off, but it's something that's like, there's only so much talk that we can do about it, because we're never going to know until we actually do it. Do you know what I mean? But I think maybe spending a bit more time maybe at yours and then at mine, and, as in like spending the night and things like that, rather than completely, I think that would be good to just dip your toe in. Not that because I know that it'd be different. It would be different if we were there all the time, obviously, but because even that sounds scary and it's silly. Like the idea of like going to yours and staying like a night, because we've not done that in like 10 years.
Yeah.
So.
But then it's also, for me, it's you know, we were in Runcorn last night, and I did have a moment where I was sort of, you know, when we were all sort of having dinner, but you know, we were all sort of doing different things, and we were all in the kitchen, and I was thinking like, oh, this is quite, I feel quite encapsulated here a bit, you know, like if it just like I feel a bit claustrophobic, like we're all here, we're all like
tight space,
and just like it's like, oh, I could see the routines happening. It's like, you know, it's like your mum gets back from work, you know, we you know, eat, converse, living room, Gilmore Girls, and I was a bit sort of like paralyzed by that a bit, because I was like, oh man, like it couldn't look like that.
No,
it'd have to look way different.
That's
you know,
a
like,
social visit.
Of course it is. Yeah, I know.
It'd be totally different if you know. It'd be totally different if we were there, living there.
Yeah.
Obviously, not in that we'd totally ignore mum and dad as if they didn't exist, but there'd need to be more a thing of like, well, we still do our own thing. Like, you know, we'll see them and stuff, but then.
But I guess like maybe it's the I don't know. It's like it's tricky, because even just to have the offer is incredibly we're incredibly lucky. But I suppose we do need to sit down and actually be like, okay, which one is it going to be, and moving the podcast there and everything, and doing the podcast from either place, and you know, and
crazy.
And then actually being like, I suppose to the people watching as well, as it's like, okay, we're actually going to set out to do something, and we're going to. It's 52 podcasts from here until you know the day when we move out and we've got a place and we figure it out, and we
that's mad, isn't
that
it?
is mad.
52.
We've not even done 50.
We've not even done 30.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? So since the start of the podcast, have we done half?
I think this is 20 something, but not 30 yet, so it might be half.
Oh my god, that's like halfway there, like the halfway line. Doesn't that like
that's weird.
Does that freak you out a little bit?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit. But yeah.
Wow.
So that's a bit of an advice hour thing for us. If anyone's got any advice for us in terms of what, if you've yourself moved back home, or if you're yourself in a similar position of feeling like the way that things are going, just it's okay and it's great, but where's the sort of 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line? Are you thinking that way? Where's the sustainability? What do you think about, you know, the idea of like backstepping or sidestepping, and you know, like do you do something that's a sacrifice but it's smart, but then what sacrifice is worth it? What's this? And you know,
is it ever that clear? Is it ever that clear? Is like, okay, so you do that, and in a year it'll be fine, or it's like, no, it's never. It's not
like
going to look like
exactly.
that. It will look totally different.
Yeah, exactly. So much can change in a year, and
yeah. Will we be the same people? Will we want the same things? You know,
maybe something crazy will happen in that year, like
probably
something good crazy, and then we're like, oh my god, like
wow.
This is all. You just don't. It's like, it's a good thing, because it means that as long as you're doing the work, you're investing in yourself, you're doing the right things. I do really believe that there are things, like, I like to believe like you've got no idea what's in store for you, in a good way. Like there are so many good things coming your way, and it's because of the work that you're doing now. Yeah.
And you definitely have to look at life through that lens.
I do think so, because otherwise, if you think that like, oh, it's almost, I don't know, it's like the whole manifesting thing, isn't it? It's like the things that you're doing now, you might not even realise how important. Definitely. We might be listening to this podcast back in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years' time, and think, we had no clue what was happening at that point. Yeah. Things that we were on track for, and things that were coming to us because of the work, and you know, how good is it that we stuck at it and we did that, and we did the scary thing, we did the risk, we took that, and you know what I mean? Like that makes me like really happy. So
yeah, me too.
You know, you have to put in some of that self-belief of
definitely.
you know, you don't know the good things that are coming from the things you're doing every day.
Yeah. Very inspiring.
What do you think? Should we
let's
wrap her up there?
let's wrap it up, and let's have a proper.
Yeah, we've got something cool that we're about to go and do now as well. So
yeah,
that'll all be coming on. Maybe we should talk about that next week's poddy, but you'll see that on our Instagram next week as well.
A loose premise is just that we're just going to go out and do some public stuff. So we're gonna
public stunts. Publicity stunts.
Evil Knievel. We're just gonna go out and try and do some stuff with the public. So that's gonna be that. Even that's a bit, a bit scary.
It is a bit daunting, but
let's go do it. Because what's the worst that's gonna happen? You know,
exactly.
Let's take the day by the horns. So we'll say thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Do let us know if you've got any advice for us, because we seriously would appreciate it right now.
Throw it our way, guys.
And thanks for listening.
Yeah.
We'll see you again next week.
We'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.
Bye, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
Boom, boom, boom.